Hello children, welcome to the Gurugether educational program. Today we are going to build up a discussion on the grade 10 mathematics syllabus probability lesson. Here children, we are going to discuss the first part of the lesson. I hope you have your textbooks with you. So let us start by looking at what we are going to learn today. In this lesson children, we are going to discuss about simple events and composite events. And also, we are going to find the probability of events which are not mutually exclusive. Okay, before we move on, what is probability? Yes, in simple words, if I explain, it is the possibility of the occurrence of any event. So children, in our day-to-day life, we come across a lot of events. So these can be categorized basically into three main categories. Okay, let's look at this. In our day-to-day surrounding, we can identify events that definitely happen and events which do not definitely happen. And the other type is events which may or may not happen. Okay children, can you think of any examples for these three types? Yes, the sun rises from the east and the sun sets from the west. So children, these two events are events which will definitely happen. Now children, events that do not definitely happen. Have you seen elephants flying in your real life? No children. Therefore, the event of an elephant flying can be considered as an event which does not definitely happen. Then the last type is events which may or may not happen. For example, today being a rainy day, it can be an event which may or may not happen. These kind of events we call as random events. Random events, we have discussed about this in grade 9. So let us see what a random event is. Okay children, we identified 4 special features of a random experiment. I hope you all can remember them. Let's look at that one by one. Random event. A random experiment is an experiment or a process for which the outcome cannot be predicted with certainty. Let us look at some examples. Tossing a coin, tossing a die, observing the types of vehicles that pass your gate. Another example? Yes, observing the number of iPhones sold at a certain shop during a week. Okay children, now as I said earlier, we identify 4 special features of a random experiment. Let's look at them one by one. The first feature, the experiment can be repeated any number of times under the same conditions. The second feature is that all the possible outcomes of the experiment are known before the experiment is carried out. The third one, the outcome of the experiment cannot be stated with certainty before the experiment is carried out. The last one, when the experiment is repeated, a pattern cannot be recognized in the outcomes. Okay children, now we can go through all these 4 features again with another example. Let's think of a random experiment. A random experiment of tossing a coin. Let's check the 4 features of this experiment. When tossing the coin, the first feature that we explained there was that the experiment can be repeated any number of times under the same condition. Yes children, we can be tossing the coin for several number of times under the same condition. Then second one, all the possible outcomes of the experiment are known before the experiment is carried out. When we toss a coin, we know that we get only head or tail. So children, the outcomes are known. Then the third one, although all the outcomes are known, we cannot be sure of what the next outcome will be. So children, you have a doubt whether it is going to be head or tail. The last feature, when the experiment is repeated, a pattern cannot be recognized in the outcomes. So imagine, children, even if we toss the coin for 100 times, still we won't be able to identify any pattern. So children, I hope now that you understood all the 4 features of a random experiment. Right, let's move on to the next slide. We have to discuss next about the sample space. The sample space of an experiment is the set of all the possible outcomes of the experiment. Normally, we denote it by capital S. So, if I consider an example of tossing a coin, we know that we will be getting head or tail. So, you have to represent these outcomes in the form of a set. So, I can write the sample space within curly brackets separated with commas the 2 outcomes, head and tail. Children, you can even use capital H and capital T instead of writing both the words head and tail. So that will be the sample space of the random experiment of tossing a coin. Next we will look at another example. An example of tossing a die. Children, a die, a cubical die, if you think of, it has 6 faces. So the faces are numbered from 1 to 6. So if you look at this, I have shown you all the possible outcomes of this experiment. So the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 are the possible outcomes. So we can denote it in the form of a set. So the sample set will contain all the numbers from 1 to 6. Let's look at this example. Taking a ball out of this bag. In this bag, children, there are 4 red color balls and 2 yellow color balls. So the sample space can be written like this. Whereas R1, R2, R3, R4 stand for the red color balls. Y1, Y2 stand for the yellow color balls. Okay, children, let's look at another example. Now earlier we discussed about tossing a dice, a cubical dice. What if we are tossing 2 dice? Okay, children, let's look at this. Now as you can see, when you toss these 2 dice, the yellow color and the red color ones, there will be lot of outcomes. So you can identify a pattern that I have written all the possible outcomes in the diagram. With the 1 on the red color dice, all the numbers in the yellow color dice can be taken, and similarly all the sets are shown here. So children, altogether we will be getting 36 outcomes. How can we present these possible outcomes in a set? Yes, you have to pair them. So children, we write them as ordered pairs. So I have taken this diagram to show you the 36 ordered pairs. Now we have to put it into the set notation. So children, the sample space will have all these ordered pairs separated with commas and written in between a set of curly brackets. Since I cannot be writing all the 36 outcomes here, I have just put some dots in between and shown you the first part and the last part of the set of all the outcomes. Now children, I hope you understood what an outcome is and also how to write the sample space of a random experiment. Now let's look at some questions. I hope you have your textbooks with you. So let us look at this exercise 30.1. Okay children, in this one they have asked us to write down the sample space of few of random experiments. So I hope you have the books with you so we can do it together. Let's take one by one and write down the sample spaces. First one. Recording the card drawn from a pack of 10 identical cards numbered from 1 to 10. So children, the 10 cards are shown here. So the set of outcomes will look like this. So the sample space can be written as shown on the board. The second part of the question. A circular disc is divided into 3 identical sectors one of which is colored red, another blue, and the other yellow. A pointer is fixed to the center of the disc and the disc is spun. The color of the sector at which it stops is recorded. So children, in this diagram I have shown you the three colors. So there will be only three outcomes in this experiment, which we write like this. So here also children, you can summarize and take capital R, capital B and capital Y for the three separate colors. Okay children, let's look at the next question. Recording the number of runs scored by a batsman in a single delivery in a cricket match. Okay, let's look at what kind of runs he can score within a single delivery. I have taken all these possible values. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 and 7 also. For example, if it's a no ball for which he hits a 6, so then 7 is also a possible value. So children, let's go through the next part of the lesson where we are going to recall the things that we have already learnt in previous grades. An event. An event is a subset of the sample space. If you consider the experiment of tossing a dice, we know that the sample space contains numbers from 1 to 6. Within this sample space, we can define lot of other events. For example, I have selected A as the event of obtaining an even number. Okay children, so by looking at the sample space, we can identify that there are three even numbers. So the outcomes of this event A can be written as 2, 4, 6. Let's consider another event. I have taken event B, that is the event of obtaining a multiple of 4. Within this sample space, we can see only one multiple of 4. So children, outcome of the event B will be like this. Now children, these events can be categorized into two main types. I hope you can remember we discussed about simple events and composite events. Let's look at this. A simple event. An event which consists of only one outcome is known as a simple event. In my previous example, I hope you can remember that the event B had only one outcome. So, the event of obtaining a multiple of 4 can be considered as a simple event. The other type is composite events. That is an event which has more than one outcome. So children, in my example, I hope you can remember I selected an event A, event of obtaining an even number. The event A had three possible outcomes. So children, since it has more than one outcome, this event A can be considered as a composite event. Okay, now let us look at a question from your textbook. The question number 2 of the lesson 30, exercise 30.1. I hope you will also refer the book and go through these questions along with me. Second question, determine whether each event given below is a simple or a composite event. So children, before identifying whether it is simple or composite, first of all, we have to identify what the experiment is, and then we have to write down the sample space for each of these experiments. Then children, after writing the sample space, we have to identify the events and identify their outcomes as well. So let us go through this question together. The first question, when rolling a tetrahedral die numbered 1 to 4, they are asking us to find out whether the event of getting the number 3 is simple or composite. And the next event they have mentioned is getting a side with an odd number. Okay children, let's first of all write down the sample space for this experiment of rolling a tetrahedral die. As you all know, a tetrahedral die has 4 similar faces. So when you number it from 1 to 4, it will look like this. So children, the event of getting the number 3 has only one outcome. So what do you all say? Yes, it is going to be a simple event. Next one, getting a side which has an odd number. So the sides 1 and 3. So children, there are two sides with numbers 1 and 3. So children, since it has more than one outcome, it is considered as a composite event. Right, let's move on to the second part of this question. In a pack of 5 identical cards labeled A, B, C, D and E, the event of drawing the card labeled A and the event of drawing a card labeled with a vowel are the two events that we have to consider. So children, out of these 5 cards, drawing a card labeled A has only one outcome. This event of drawing a card labeled A has only one outcome and therefore it is considered as a simple event. Drawing a card labeled with a vowel, here we know that we can see 2 vowels. So, since it has more than one outcome, this event is considered to be a composite event. Okay children, now let us look at the next part of the lesson. We have to discuss about equally likely outcomes. What is an equally likely outcome? Yes, in a certain experiment, if all the outcomes have the same probability of occurrence, we can call them as equally likely outcomes. Let's look at that slide. If you consider the experiment of tossing a die, a cubical die has 6 faces. So children, these are the 6 possible outcomes. Since all the 6 faces are of similar shape, all these 6 numbers have the same possibility of occurrence. Therefore children, they can be called as equally likely outcomes. Let's look at another example. I have taken a cubical dice with numbers from 1 to 3. You might wonder why I have only 3 numbers. Let's see, the faces of this cube is numbered in an odd manner. You have 1 on the top surface and you have 3 at the bottom surface, and the face onto your left side you will have number 1 and onto your right you will have number 2. In front is number 2 and the other one at the back you will be getting number 1. So you can see the 6 faces are numbered in this manner. Now children, all the 6 faces are similar in shape, but since I have numbered them in an odd manner, there is no equal probability of occurrence for these 3 numbers. As you can see, 1 appears in 3 of the faces out of the 6. So it has more possibility of occurrence than the occurrence of 3. So children, it cannot be taken as an equally likely outcome. Let's look at the next example. Tossing a die made of a frustum of a cone with numbers 1, 2 and 3 on the 3 faces as shown. So in this frustum, top face is number 2 and the number 3 at the bottom, and in the curved part number 1 appears. So children, although the numbers are being used only once, the surfaces are different in shape. So they don't have an equal possibility of occurrence. So they cannot be called as equally likely outcomes. I hope you understood what an equally likely outcome is. Okay children, let's look at the next part of the lesson. For an equally likely outcome, we can define the probability. So the probability of an outcome of a random experiment with an equally likely outcome can be written like this. Probability of the selected outcome is always equal to 1 upon the total number of outcomes in the sample space of the random experiment. So children, I hope you understand that we are considering only of an outcome of a random experiment with equally likely outcomes. Next, if we think of the probability of an event in the sample space of a random experiment with equally likely outcomes, we can write it like this. What happens in an event is that there can be more than one outcome. So children, in the numerator, we get the number of elements in the event, which is to be divided by the number of elements in the sample space. Right. So we will put this into notations. Probability of the event is equal to number of elements in the event divided by number of elements in the sample space. I can take notations like this. I can take the number of elements in the sample space S as NS and the number of elements in the event A as NA and the probability of event A occurring as PA. So we can put it together and write it in a simpler form where as PA, that is probability of event A, is equal to number of outcomes in the event A divided by the number of outcomes in the sample space. I hope you understood how we arrived at this notation. Let's see how we are going to use this in our sums. I hope to look at an example with you. Okay children, let's look at the board and read this question. I want you to go through it thoroughly and identify or understand what we are supposed to do. Let us consider this example. They have considered an experiment of rolling an unbiased cubic die with its faces numbered from 1 to 6 and recording the number on the face that turns up. First question, write the sample space S of all the possible outcomes of this experiment. Second one, find the value of NS. Third one, if A is the event of an even number turning up, write the elements of A and find NA. Fourth one, find the probability of the event A. Fifth one, find the probability of a prime number turning up. Let's take this question part by part. The first part, the sample space. So as we already know, the outcomes of the experiment of tossing a cubical die can be written as follows. Then they asked us for the number of elements in this sample space. So it is equal to 6. Then we were asked about an event A, event of obtaining an even number. So in the sample space we can observe 3 even numbers. Therefore number of elements in this event A is 3. So next step is to calculate the probability of obtaining an even number. So as we defined earlier, probability of the occurrence of event A is equal to number of elements in the outcomes of the event A divided by the number of outcomes of the sample space. So when we substitute the values for this, we will get an answer 3 over 6. You can also simplify it and say 1 over 2. Children, in probability lesson, it's not compulsory for you all to simplify this answer. We can just write 3 over 6 and take it as the answer without simplifying it. But remember children, it is not allowed in the fractions questions. If you are answering a question on fractions, definitely the answers should be expressed in the simplest form. But in probability, you are allowed to write any of these two answers. Okay, next look at the last part of that question. The last part, they described about an event B, event of obtaining a prime number. In this sample space, we can identify 3 prime numbers, 2, 3, 5. So children, the event B has 3 outcomes. So probability can be calculated like this. I hope now you are used to this formula. Therefore, let us substitute these values. And here also you will be getting an answer 3 over 6, which can be simplified if you like. Let's look at your textbook. The exercise 30.1 in the page 147. Let's go through the question number 4 of this exercise. There is a bag containing 10 identical pieces of paper numbered from 1 to 10. A piece of paper is drawn at random. First part of the question, write the sample space. Then if the event of drawing a square number is x, Then write the elements of x and find the value of nx. Last part of the question, find the probability of the event x. Okay children, these are the 10 cards. So we know the sample space will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So children, out of them, next we described about an event x, where the event of drawing a square number. So children, the event x has 3 outcomes, 1, 4 and 9. So I can take the value of nx. What does this n stands for? Yes children, number of outcomes in the event x. So nx is equal to 3. Therefore, in the next part, as they asked us to calculate the probability, we can substitute these values into the formula. Probability of the occurrence of x is equal to number of elements in x divided by number of elements in S. So x is the event, S is the sample space. So when you substitute, you get a value of 3/10. Before we move on to the next part of the lesson, I would like to recall on something that we learnt on sets. Union and intersection. If we consider two sets A and B, the union of these two sets can be considered as the set of all the elements of sets A and B. The intersection of the two sets is considered to be the set of elements which belongs to both A and B. You can see it on the screen children. I have put a small diagram. You can see it on the screen children. I hope you can remember this. Okay, with this let's move on to the next part of the lesson. The intersection and union of two sets. I have drawn a Venn diagram for you to understand it easily, and we are considering two events of the sample space which are having equally likely outcomes. So children, this formula we learnt under the sets lesson. The number of elements in the union of A and B is equal to number of elements in A plus number of elements in B minus the number of elements in A intersection B. This was used in the sets lesson. Now children, I am going to divide each of these terms by ns. ns is the number of outcomes of the sample space. So as each of them is divided by ns, they turn into probability format. So children, I can write them or convert them into probabilities. As all the outcomes are equally likely, the probability of A union B is equal to probability of A plus probability of B minus the probability of A intersection B. Let's look at an example. In this example of tossing a cubical die, the sample space and the number of elements of the sample space is written on the board. If you think of the event A as the event of obtaining an even number, we can write it down like this. In calculating the probability, the total number of outcomes of the event A is divided by the total number of outcomes in the sample space. Therefore, it is 3/6. We can consider the outcomes and calculate the probability as in the previous part of the question. And also children, look at the right side of this slide where I have written down the union of the two sets and the intersection. If you look at the sample space of event A and event B, you can see that you have a common element too. So that is the one that I have taken under the intersection. So if you calculate the probabilities of these two events as well, you will be getting values 5/6 and 1/6. Now children, our formula is this. Probability of the union of these two sets should be equal to the probability of A plus probability of B minus probability of the intersection of these two events. So children, if you can see that if you substitute the values, the left hand side value will be equal to the right hand side values. So I hope you understood that you can use this formula for your calculations. I hope to move on to the next part of the lesson. We have to identify mutually exclusive events. What are mutually exclusive events? Yes, events that do not happen at the same time. They cannot occur simultaneously. So children, if we consider any two events A and B, if there is no intersection between these two events, then they are called as mutually exclusive events. So in the set notation we say if A intersection B is a null set, then the event A and event B are going to be mutually exclusive events. Let us look at this formula. Now, as we have identified the intersection of these two events to be a null set, then the probability of this should be equal to 0. Therefore, what happens to the formula is that it gets summarized into two terms, whereas the probability of A union B will be equal only to the sum of the two probabilities. Any two mutually exclusive events, the probability can be calculated. Please remember that for any two mutually exclusive events, the probability of the union of the two events can be calculated just by adding the two probabilities of the events A and B. Complement of an event. Complement. I hope you can remember in short notation also we discussed about the complement of a set. If you consider a certain set, whatever elements that does not fall into that set was considered as the complement set. So let us look at what a complement of an event is. In this diagram children, I have taken a set A. So whatever elements that do not fall into this set A falls outside the circle. Therefore, in this universal set, it is divided into two basic parts, the set A and the complement of set A. So similarly children, in an event also we can talk about this. So children, similarly in events also we can discuss something similar to this. The union of an event and the complement of the event forms the sample space. And also, since they do not occur at the same time, they will never have an intersection. So children, A intersection A dash is written as a null set. That is, the intersection of event A and the complement of event A is going to be a null set. Accordingly, the probability can be defined like this. Since the event A and the complement of event A form the sample space, the probability of the occurrence of event A and the complement of A will be equal to probability of A plus probability of A dash. The complement, the probability of the event A and probability of the complement of event A forms the sample space, and therefore I have used PS equals PA plus PA dash. Now children, since we know that the probability of the occurrence of the sample space is equal to 1, I can substitute it here in the equation and arrive at this step. Now I am going to interchange these terms and change the subject into PA dash. Therefore, PA dash is equal to 1 minus PA. So children, for any event A, the probability of the occurrence of the complement of event A is equal to 1 minus the probability of the occurrence of event A. I hope you understood how we arrived at this formula. Let's see how we are going to use this in our sums. Let's look at another question from your textbook. I have selected question number 1 of 30.2. In this exercise, I have selected the first question of the exercise 30.2. In a random experiment of rolling a fair die numbered from 1 to 6, they have defined 4 events. Event A be the event that a prime number is obtained. Event B be the event that a perfect square is obtained. Event C be the event that a number greater than 4 is obtained. And D be the event that a multiple of 6 is obtained. So they are asking us to select all pairs of mutually exclusive events. So here also children, first of all, we have to identify the experiment and its sample space. Then thereafter, we have to identify the 4 events separately and write down all the possible outcomes for those 4 events. Let's look at the question together. Event A. Event A is obtaining a prime number. So children, I have written down the possible outcomes 2, 3, 5. Event B has 2 outcomes 1 and 4 because it was the event of obtaining a square number. Event C, obtaining a number greater than 4. So it also has 2 elements 5 and 6. Event of obtaining a multiple of 6, that is event D, which has only 1 outcome. Now children, to see whether they are mutually exclusive, we have to see whether they have intersections in between them. So if you consider event A and B, we can see that they have no intersection. Therefore, A and B can be considered as mutually exclusive events. Let's take A and C together. Yes, they have a common element 5. So children, they won't be mutually exclusive events. Then, if you consider A and D, they don't have any intersection. Therefore, again, A and D also will be mutually exclusive events. Right, now we have to consider B and C as well. B and C also don't have any intersection. Therefore, they are also mutually exclusive events. Next, B and D. They also have no common element. Therefore, they are also considered to be mutually exclusive events. C and D. Here they have a common element. Therefore, children, they won't be mutually exclusive events. Okay, I hope you understood how to select whether a certain given set of events are mutually exclusive or not. Now let us look at the second question of the same exercise. Here they are defining 2 events x and y of a random experiment which are not mutually exclusive. Then children, the probability of event x is given as 1 over 4, the probability of event y is given as 5 over 6, and the probability of x intersection y is given as 1 over 6. Now they are asking us to find each one of these. Okay children, let's take it one by one. First one, to find the probability of the union of these 2 sets, we can use this formula. Since we know the other 3 values, we can easily substitute these values and find out the answer for the probability of x union y. Here children, 1/4 plus 5 over 6 minus 1 over 6. You have to bring them to a common denominator and add them. So thereby you will be obtaining an answer like this, 11 over 12. So the probability of x union y will be equal to 11 over 12. Next one children, the probability of the complement of event x is equal to 1 minus the probability of event x. So children, you can substitute the value 1/4 and get the answer 3/4. Next one, probability of the complement of event y. So it is similar to the previous part of the question. So you substitute 1 minus 5 over 6 and the answer is 1 over 6. Next part, we were asked to find the complement of x intersection y. The probability of the complement of x intersection y. So children, always remember that we can write the probability of the complement as 1 minus the probability of the event considered. So it can be written as probability of the complement of the event x intersection y equals to 1 minus probability of the event x intersection y. So children, 1 minus 1 over 6 equals to 5 over 6. The last part of the question, the next part of the question, they asked us to find the probability of the complement of x union y. So it is equal to 1 minus probability of x union y. Again, it is 1 minus 11 over 12, which gives you 1 over 12. Let's look at the third question. A and B are two events of a random experiment. Here, the probability of event A is given as 2 over 7 and the probability of the complement of event B is given as 1 over 4. We are asked to find the probability of the complement of event A and the probability of event B. So, the same equation to be used in two different manners. So, children, let's look at the first part. PA dash equals 1 minus PA. So, you can substitute the value for PA as 2 over 7 and obtain the answer 5 over 7. To find the probability of event B, I can interchange these terms and write it like this, whereas PB is equal to 1 minus PB dash. So, answer is 1 minus 1 over 4, which gives you 3 over 4. The last question of this exercise. X and Y are two events of a random experiment. It is given that probability of event X is equal to 1 over 2 and probability of Y equals to 1 over 3. And the probability of X union Y is equal to 5 over 6. So children, here they ask us to find the probability of X intersection Y, and thereby they want us to show that X and Y are mutually exclusive. Okay, so first of all, we have to use the formula and find out the values. Let's look at the formula. Now children, we know certain values of this formula and we need to substitute for that. Before substituting, what I have done is I have interchanged the terms and changed the subject of this formula into P x intersection y. So all the known values come into the right hand side of the equation. 1 over 2 plus 1 over 3 minus 5 over 6. Therefore, when you add them together, you will get an answer like this. Now see children, the probability of x intersection y has become 0. So if the probability of the occurrence of any two events at the same time is equal to 0, then we know that these two events are going to be mutually exclusive. So the second part of the question, they wanted us to show that x and y are mutually exclusive events. So we can argue, since the probability of x intersection y is equal to 0, x and y are going to be mutually exclusive events. The last question of this exercise, x, y and z are three events of a random experiment. The probabilities of event x, event y is given, and the probability of the complement of event z is given as 2 over 3, and also probability of x intersection y and probability of x intersection z. Now they have given us 5 parts for this question. Here we have to go through them and find out the probabilities separately. Py dash, we use the formula and here it is equal to 1 minus Py. When you substitute the values, you will get an answer 8 over 9. Let's look at the next part of the question. The third part of the question asks us to find the probability of event Z. It is equal to 1 minus the probability of the complement of Z. So when you substitute these values, you will get the answer 1 over 3. So I think it is very easy now for you all to substitute these values and find out the answers. All these formulas you can remember and use it as you wish. The fourth part of it, the probability of x union y. It is equal to probability of x plus probability of y minus probability of x intersection y. Now children, we have to substitute these three values and find out the answer. Probability of x union y is going to be equal to 4 over 18. Let's look at the last part of the question. We are asked to find the complement of the event of x union z. But children, we don't know the value of the event of x union z. So therefore, we first of all have to find out the value of probability of x union z. Here children, we can use this formula and find the probability of x union z. We know the values px to be 1 over 6, pz to be 1 over 3 and px intersection z to be 1 over 12. So when you substitute, you will get an answer 5 over 12. I have written down the probabilities on this slide for you to refer if you can't remember the probabilities that we calculated earlier. So children, after finding this value, we have to substitute it into this formula, whereas the probability of the complement of the x union z is equal to 1 minus the probability of x union z. So it is going to be 1 minus 5 over 12, which will give you an answer of 7 over 12. So children, that's all we have to discuss today. I hope you understood what I explained throughout this lesson. Let's summarize this lesson and see what we have already learned. Yes children, in the first part of the lesson, we identified what a simple event and what a composite event is. Then children, we found the probabilities of events which are not mutually exclusive. So children, this is the first part of the lesson, probability, of your syllabus. So I will be meeting you on another day for the second part of this lesson. Children, you can go through all these lessons in the YouTube. You can watch channel NIE through YouTube and go through these lessons again and again. So I hope to see you next time with the remaining part of this lesson. Till next time, have a nice day.